Hello, good morning, and welcome to This Morning on QTV. It's the start of the week. Another, should I say beautiful Monday? As Balde would usually say. So, I am Matsumade Sonyasi, and I'll be here with my colleague Lolly M. Kamra, of course, with the support of our able, bosses in the studio, Mr. Ade and Mr. Mboch, to bring you another exciting edition of This Morning on QTV. Yes, it's a public holiday, but as Setijan would usually say, we are holidaying. I mean, we are work. It's a work daying for us.
And we hope
good morning.
And we hope all our viewers are feeling absolutely guilty, thinking, I'm chilling at home and these people are working.
But yes, we're happy to be back here. And yes, Lolly, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Ansumana.
You're looking good this morning, huh?
Really?
Yes.
You've noticed that?
No further comments.
Hey!
But yes, how was your weekend?
Oh, Alhamdulillah, I had a good one. I was home with my kids, family, everybody together. So we had lunch, dinner. So it was a quality time spent. Okay. Just that I'm sad. My daughter looked at me yesterday and said, Mom, you'll be the only one to go out tomorrow. We'll all be indoors. My father is not going to work. You're the only one going. I'm like, what? All right.
Unfortunately, that's the nature of my job. Mr. Mboch.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, Mr. Mboch.
Mr. Mboch is looking bright.
She absolutely dropped it in, didn't she?
Yeah. You've been missed, Mr. Mboch, but good to see you back here.
It's been a while, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
So who dragged you here today, Mr. Ade? Francis.
I know he wouldn't want to talk about it, but I'll still ask. How was your weekend?
Sunday. We got a trash and we got beat by. I'm a Liverpool fan, by the way, so it's spoiled by Sunday, really.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Mr. Ade have asked you not to talk about football. Oh, yes.
Well, he would want to talk about it anyway. He's the one. Good morning.
But that was a fact for me. That was the reality. I was really pissed off in the end when I went to bed.
Oh,
I know, right?
Too bad.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Ade.
Yeah, for those who don't understand football, if your team loses, it can really mess up your weekend. Those who are passionate about football, it can really mess up the weekend. Mine was fine, but as people know, I don't have a weekend, so Sundays used to be my day off, but now that I have to prepare the African News Roundup, I hope my bosses are watching, it means I even work on a Sunday.
Oh, wow. It's too much.
So,
okay, so this morning, we'll go through the usual African proverb, after which, we have a commercial break, then we go through in fact, the biggest story so far for the past week.
I think it's the biggest story of the year.
In fact, biggest story of the year, no doubt.
Yeah.
Which is the cough syrup saga. We'll have a look at the president's statement. Hopefully, we'll also engage the police PRO on the phone, and so we'll have both of you help us with that. And remember, it's Pink October as well.
Indeed.
So we have Dr. Abdullah Keita and Dr. Tado Jabi to also take us through cervical cancer and what it is and how it can be prevented. So we also remember our sponsors.
Shall I do it? Yeah, Opticalia.
Yes.
And they are based at the Tropic Shopping Centre, which is on Senegambia. You can't miss that building. I hope people can see this one. And better than anything else, as well as eyes, ear, nose, and throat stuff that you can get there, it's open 7 days a week.
Wow.
And this building, if you go there and you find lots of cars parked, there's actually an underground car park.
Yeah.
But I was told by the people there that people are scared to use it, which made me smile because, where I formerly lived in England, of course, there are thousands of underground car parks and everybody uses them. But this one, apparently, people park everywhere except underground. They think the building's going to collapse on them or something.
It's something new, especially to these fullers.
It's so.
So we'll go through our African proverb this morning. Lolly?
Yes, and the African proverb reads, if you only sleep, you will be hungry. If you only pray to God, you will be hungry. You will have to put in hard work.
Who wants to go first? Mr. Adi, Mboj?
Mr. Mboj is all smile.
Yeah, I can go first because when I read it, it brought a smile to my face for several reasons. You know, I was reading in a WhatsApp group that I belong to. Somebody was saying that, you know, Africa is the continent where people think that if you open lots of mosques and lots of churches, everything will be all right, rather than people going out and sweating and so on. And what they were doing, they were kind of comparing us to other nations that became independent at the same time, or even nations that became independent long after us that are not in Africa, that have surged ahead in terms of, you know, yes, they pray, but they put in the hard work. We seem to think that all we have to do is pray and everything will be okay.
way.
So, you know, you go to Nigeria, you go to Lagos, there's like, I don't know, 800 to 900 churches of different sizes. It's probably more than that now. I'm talking about even 10 years ago. So, you know, we seem to believe, us Africans, that, you know, we can just chill and just pray. And yeah, everything will take care of itself. But you know, it's not going to fix your road.
Like they would
It's
say,
not going to
we leave
mend
everything to God.
your broken down perimeter wall or something. You know, you need to put in the work. You know, so yeah.
Yeah,
So this one definitely made me smile.
For me, it put to mind, you know, the Latin phrase, to walk is to pray. That's how they put it. For me, that's how I say it. To walk, that is my prayer.
Exactly.
I think that's really what this is saying
Yeah,
in many
one.
ways. Absolutely.
Sure.
It is the physical work that really gets you
Just
results.
prayers wouldn't solve your problem.
Yeah. Not prayers alone.
Not prayers alone. You'll have to put in some work.
Who was it that said, you know, the domain of the spiritual is the domain of the spiritual. The domain of the material is the domain of the material. When you confuse the two, you're not going anywhere.
You get confused.
Which is what we tend to do in
I
Africa.
agree.
Oh, yes, interesting one there. As you all said, you have to put in a lot of work to make sure that you get yourself something. Not by prayers, everything will be like falling from the sky. No, you have to wake up, you have to toil for it.
Yeah, like they were saying in Gambia, Yalla Bahna.
Yalla bahna.
God is
Yalla
good.
mune jogal
God is
nga
ever
liggéey.
good anyway. You have to put in work.
You have to.
And even the bad attitudes you see sometimes, people will tell you, so it feed the fella yalali.
Yes.
So that's it. It sort of nurtures some really nasty mindset, as it were. It is awful. It's an awful kind of thought, really.
Yes, because you know, even some scholars will tell you that don't tie your cow. If you don't tie your cow or your camel, and you think, you know, I'm just going to leave it untied. Well, that camel or that cow's nature is to wander. So by the time you go, you're praying, you come back, where's my camel? Where's my cow? You know, so that's the work you didn't put in.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know.
Important one there, definitely.
All right, so we go for a short commercial break, and when we return, we'll have a look at the biggest, story of the year, as Mr. Ade said, the cough syrup saga. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Money, the biggest mobile money service in the Gambia, has taken mobile banking to the next level. Now, you can link your Q-Money wallet with your bank account. Yes, link your Ajib or EcoBank accounts with your Q-Money wallet and get instant access to your cash anytime. No need to queue at the bank anymore. Transfer funds from your bank account to your wallet or your wallet to your bank account using Q-Money Bank Link is the fastest, most secure, and convenient way to transfer funds between your wallet and bank account. For more information, call our customer care on 133. Q-Money, Sunyu Kalpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Espas Motors is the largest and most modern auto service in the Gambia. Espas Motors is the only authorized dealer in Chevy, Mercedes-Benz trucks, Mercedes-Benz buses, Kia, Ford, Futon Mini and Midi buses, Futon trucks. At Espas Motors, we have qualified professionals who use modern technology to diagnose and repair all brands of motor vehicles. Espas Motor services include auto sales, auto repairs, vehicle painting, availability of high-quality spare parts, towing services. We are reachable at any time. Call Espas Motors on 352222 353-4444 or locate us on the Bertel Harding Highway. Espas Motors.
Q-Money is back again with its easy-to-use, secure and convenient mobile app that allows you to carry out all your transactions. No matter where you are or what time it is, you can always access your funds. With the new QMoney app, you can cash in and out, buy credit, buy QPower, shop, make payments, and so much more. You can also send QMoney, pay bills, receive international remittances, and transfer cash to others. Just download the app from your Play Store or App Store and get started. For more information, call customer care on 133. QMoney, Sinu Kalpe. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back after the commercial break. Be reminded you're watching This Morning on QTV. I am Ansmana Sonyasi, and I'm here with my colleague Loli M. Kamara, Mr. Ate Darami, and Mr. Mahmoud Mboch. So, yes, I mean, while we wait to hear from the police PRO, hopefully, you know, as we progress in this discussion, like I said before the commercial break, we would now talk about the biggest story of the year, no doubt. Quite unfortunate, really. Last month, the Ministry of Health did issue a statement. In fact, it wasn't issued. I think it was an internal memo that was leaked. And then, you know, they were in some way forced to come out to say, yes, this is happening. But we're investigating. We're not sure what exactly it is, but we think we have an idea. And then it went on and on and on. After a couple of weeks, last week to be specific, the WHO, you know,
Gave up
issued this public statement.
Public alert.
Public alert that really left us all
Shocked.
very much worried, but also sad. Really, really sad.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I mean, it throws a very unwelcome light on the Gambia in almost every single way you can imagine. So I'll start with the WHO alert. When that was issued, the world's media picked it up. CNN, Al Jazeera, BBC, they all had it as their first, second, or third story. Okay, and that ran throughout the day. On that day, our National Assembly met from 10 o'clock in the morning till midnight. Not once
No mention of it.
did they mention the story that the rest of the world was talking about. How could Gambia let this happen?
And it was
And
all
we
over
had-
social media.
It was you could not escape it, but somehow they managed to escape it,
Escape it.
which shows you how unserious the people are that we elect. And we need to look at this very, very seriously, because if something like that can be happening, you are the story that the rest of the world is talking about, and you yourself don't think. And then I had this rubbish about
and not only
they
the-
had to put in
Not
a
only
special.
the National Assembly,
No,
even
you know-
government, it took them over 72 hours to react to that. When the
Exactly.
whole world was talking about it.
Yeah. You know, they should have been the ones before WHO,
Exactly.
because WHO would have alerted them that they were going to put out this alert. So, you know, they didn't need to wait 72 hours. They should have been on it. You know?
And I think many have seen them as, you know, because of the public outcry that forced them to come out and speak to the public.
As if they're reacting to that rather than
Just
doing their job.
doing their job.
Yeah.
So it's like they failed us as citizens, I would say.
So much.
Well, yes, it was, it was quite staggering, really. We discussed it myself and Ade during my drive time show on radio. Absolutely, when the whole world, you know, was expressing a sense of outrage, really, in many ways, it scarcely mattered here. Quite unbelievable. And even where they spoke, it was unbelievable. You don't get that feeling that they're feeling the outrage. That was quite interesting. It was as if our politicians are being careful here with India. Maybe they don't want to upset them. It's very strange. It's very interesting. I did not get this one at all.
I found
But
it
there is, because what I've seen in the international media, the outrage they were showing, I didn't see it here. Even when you listen to the president's address, we will come to that later.
Yeah.
You simply couldn't believe it. Really, how sort of banal, tame, even defensive.
Yeah.
When said that, you know, this is not unusual, 60 kids do die within this period,
Yeah.
to which we said, not from AKI, sir.
And even if 66 children die within that period, it will be very unusual for them all to die from the same cause.
That's exactly
which
the
is
point.
why it is unusual. So I don't know
Exactly.
who wrote that statement in the president's
In fact,
address,
at this
but they need
point,
to be
I would want us
sacked.
to
Yeah.
assess his
You know.
statement, to delve
You
deep
know.
into it.
Yeah.
I don't know what you make of his statement, but I mean, all right. So let's have a bit, of his statement, and then we would go into it.
Sure.
You know, I'm sure Mr. Mboji is all fired up. But yes, we have a look at the president's
We're all
statement.
fired up.
Some parts of it. And then we'll come back to you.
Fellow Gambians, residents of the Gambia, in July of this year, the Ministry of Health detected an unusual rise in the number of cases of diarrhea and vomiting among children under the age of 5 within the 6 health regions of the country in areas affected by flash floods. Many of the children affected later developed acute kidney injuries, resulting in the untimely deaths of 66 children within the last 3 months, even though they had the best medical attention and care available. Various laboratory tests conducted on the samples from the victims show that bacteria are the likely cause of their deaths. Doctors noticed a trend among the patients, which indicate that some of them had taken similar drugs. This suggests a link between the acute kidney injuries and the drugs as detected in some other countries. Acting on this evidence, the Ministry of Health issued a statement to suspend the use of the suspected drugs. After receiving the first test results, the ministry also ordered an immediate recall of the drugs from all pharmacies and households. Fellow Gambians, residents of the Gambia, the Ministry of Health has since been working closely and relentlessly with the World Health Organization, WHO, and the Center for Disease Control of the United States of America, CDC, on this matter. Investigations are in progress, and we hope that they will get to the bottom of the outbreak soon. With the support of the WHO, the ministry sent the drug samples to laboratories in Senegal, Ghana, France, and Switzerland for further investigation. The results received on Thursday, 6 October 2022, confirmed contamination of 4 of the samples. I commend the Ministry of Health for their diligence, particularly for the early detection of the outbreak and their sustained investigative efforts and control strategies.
So you're watching This Morning on QTV. Mr. Mboj, Loli, Mr. Ade. I mean, that's a statement there again. I've made a few observations, but I'll allow you guys to go first. Let me begin with Loli before I engage Mboj and Mr. Ade. What do you make of the president's statement?
So I'll put myself in the shoe of all mothers because I'm a mother. I know how it feels to lose a child. It's really devastating for all mothers. I say my heartfelt condolences to everyone that is affected out there. I think what the president should have done was to come out and said, we are aware and we will take measures to ensure that whoever is responsible faces
He missed out on something from the very start, which I think is very, very important. Really, really important.
We felt disappointed as mothers. We've really felt disappointed. the president did not just speak on behalf of us. He spoke on his own behalf. I don't know for what reason, but we have to get to the bottom of this as soon as possible.
You know, when I watched the statement, I mean, equally, like everyone else, like most of us, I was also disappointed. I strongly believe it could have been better, really, than that. I think he missed out on something really important from the very start, which is one would expect, looking at the numbers that we're talking about, 66, now we understand it's 69, according to the health minister. I think he should have started with, you know, talk to the bereaved families, you know, extend condolence, commiserate with them. Just start with that. And then, but it was more of a defensive statement, you know, than even connecting with the people affected. I mean, I don't know how he missed out on that, how they missed out on that, rather. Now we know, I mean, one of the people who wrote that statement, anyway, the minister said it himself and even apologized for some of those things said in that statement. But
don't wonder that the president thanks the Ministry
of Health. I mean,
they wrote it themselves. They wrote it themselves.
Like, what are you commending them for?
What have they done?
I mean, but anyway, Mr. Moj.
Yes, I know what you mean. We were expecting a speech that reflected the tone of outrage and indignation.
Yeah.
And then we are going to get to the bottom of this. That's the kind of attitude. Whoever is responsible, because we have to investigate where were the points of failure, as it were, in this chain, if you like, of decision making. That's really what it is. Where were the points of failure? So we need to get into the details of this and then say what next. So that was it. I think that was what people wanted, something reassuring, something really reassuring, and the sense that we are a nation, we are grieving, and we should. 69 children dead within a very short period. That's a national thing. We should be grieving. That sense of grieving, as it were, wasn't reflected in his speech, I feel.
I mean, he also said something that I find quite interesting, maybe ironical in some way. He said they had the best of health care.
Yes. He said the best medical care and attention. And he said, in spite of this, they died. If I'm a parent of one of those children,
they could have come out.
I don't think I would agree with that statement. Elsewhere, we've read that the president is sending a high-powered delegation to meet the family. Actually, it should be the president that goes to meet these families.
Looking at the numbers.
Because this is unprecedented. And I wanted somebody somewhere to say that this is a scandal. It's not just that 69 children have now died. It is a scandal that our systems are so lax that this has been able to happen. As we're all saying, the sense of anger, the sense of indignation, the sense of outrage needed to come through. This is when you don't speak as a diplomat, as we saw the president there. He could have been reading diplomatic appointments for all the anger that came through in his statement. It was missing. You are the president. You have to say, this is unacceptable, and use the tone and the language that shows, that reflects how your nation is feeling, how people in this country are feeling right now, that the world are looking at us with pity, with disgust, and saying, how could you let this happen to vulnerable children? You should have responded to that.
Yes.
And not just read this kind of bland statement that was read.
In my opinion, is his worst statement ever since he became president.
Making comparisons of what had happened before, compared to the numbers that have lost their life. Even one is huge.
Yeah.
I think there are of 69.
And as I said earlier, the fact that the 69 now have died from a single cause is bad enough. But what makes it even worse is when you hear doctors who said, as on a Health Link, a doctor said, I've been in the medical profession for 20 years. I have only known of 2 cases involving children that have died from this. Normally it's people in their 70s. 2 in 20 years. And you're talking about 69 in the space of 2 to 3 months. And somehow you normalize it. That is not acceptable.
No.
So to say that in this sort of period, children would die, the same number of children would die, hey, maybe, but not the same number of children who die from a single cause.
Yeah.
And that is what is
Exactly.
at stake here. And what was interesting is that because of what happened, I went online, and so I watched all the Indian channels that I could watch that were broadcasting in English, and I counted at least 20 that were covering this story. For many of them, it was their first story. The Indian Prime Minister, Modi, had come out, and he's set up an investigating committee to look into it. So because for them it's reputational damage.
Yeah.
Most of Africa, much of Africa, I should say, buys its drugs from India. So that if this gets out, that, hey, these are, you know. So that was one thing. And then yesterday I was speaking to one of my sisters, and she said, oh, you need to listen to Talk Radio did a 1.5-hour documentary about how lax the medical manufacturing industry has become in India. And so they said this might not be an isolated case. This has come to light because of what has happened now, but it might not be an isolated case. She sent me the link. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to listen to it before I came on air. But she said it's definitely worth listening to. So, yeah.
And even the current head of WTO, I think, if my memory serves me right, when she was Minister of Finances in Nigeria,
Right.
there was a period when she riled against Indian
Indian.
pharmaceutical companies in India.
Yeah.
So people have sort of suspected that India, yes, they're doing quite well, but they still have some developmental challenges and
Well,
the structures as well.
Well, this is it.
Tight.
And because in many of the Indian channels that I watched, there's one guy who was interviewed on about 6 or 7 of them because he'd written a book about India's medical industry and medical manufacturing industry, and he was very critical. I think his book is called The Bitterest Pill or something like that. And so they brought him on. I saw him, the same guy, on several talk shows and he said, you know, we need to look at this. Yes, there's a good side to it. He said, but we've kind of turning a blind eye to the bad side of this industry because it's making us billions of dollars every year.
So the company in question,
Maiden.
Maiden, they've issued a press statement, but something really caught my eye, and that's the second sentence, right? It reads, these are like brief facts that they've highlighted in the statement, that we have valid drug approvals for the export of the products in question, and we are not selling anything in domestic market. So it is for export only.
Yeah, I mean, that again came up in there was a sigh of relief on all the Indian channels I watched when they said, this drug is not being sold here. But you know, what is scandalous about it is that if you go back as far as 2014, this company was taken to court over this very drug in India.
In India.
To stop it being sold there because it was found to be contaminated. And they were taken to court again in 2017 in India to stop it being sold there. So your own country deems it unfit to be sold there, but you think, and they only export it to the Gambia.
Gambia, that's my biggest question. But why? Why only Gambia?
Absolutely.
You know, why look how small Gambia is. India is like 1 million times the size of Gambia. You know, you could sell, and they sell to all of Africa, as I said, you know, Indian drugs manufacturers. Why only the Gambia?
Yeah.
And again, you could see the relief on the presenters' faces. Said, we've done our investigation, and it seems this drug is only sold in the Gambia. So you need to, you can relax.
Need to panic. Like,
Imagine that, yeah.
You know?
And one can say that the reason why it's only Gambia is that nobody else would have them.
This is it. Because other countries will
How
ask
did they
for
get in
checks
here
and
to this
balances.
place? Nobody else will have them.
Yeah.
So I think where the president issued the statement saying that he has constituted, you know, a panel
Investigating panel.
that was the first thing he should have done.
Sure.
It came after the statement.
After the statement.
After the public reacted to his statement. You know.
Delegating, you know.
I think this should have been. He should have started with this.
He should have started with this.
Yeah. Unfortunately, whoever wrote that statement, I mean, now we know that it's from the Ministry of Health itself. I think, for me, the language in that statement.
It's not
And
just.
you also listen to the Minister
The
of
minister,
Health.
yes, I listened to him, and he even apologized
press
for some of those things said in that statement. But again, you know, and he even went on to respond to people who've been calling for his resignation.
And I think that was the reason he had to call for the press conference.
Yes, he said, you know, if I resign, who does it benefit?
What would change
Yeah.
if I have
What
resigned?
would change?
Yes, it just shows you how different things operate in
are.
here compared to Europe or America.
Sad.
Absolutely.
Really sad.
So now that the police are really...
I have to be honest with me. I need to get the facts first before I can talk about resignations or not.
Yeah, that's true.
As
That's
a
true.
journalist, I need to see.
I mean, for this one, we've heard that they've authorized the suspension of the license of the suspected importer
Yeah.
and the pharmacy. You know, somebody. But again, when we spoke to the Medicines Control Agency, and people would have seen the report we did, there was this curious phrase. The drugs were legally imported, but they were not legally registered. I mean, I don't understand English because I don't know what the hell that means. I really don't.
I only thought that it was with me that I did not understand
you know,
that phrase, but it's
I don't know if I'm
weird.
pronouncing this right. Ethylene, I think,
Ethylene, yeah.
and diethylene.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I searched these things online, and what I found is the substances in this.
Sure. It's called motor car antifreeze. If you have
Very harmful.
antifreeze in your car, has exactly this. It is not for human consumption.
And imagine
ever.
having that in one's
and
body.
also they use it to repair
ACs.
air conditioning
Yeah.
machines. It is not for human consumption. It should not be anywhere near anything that is consumed. So that it was found in significant numbers for it to warrant this kind of suspension is really, really scary, because how did it get in there?
How did it get in there?
Somebody somewhere should be prosecuted.
Yeah.
As soon as possible. So
And for us, it was personalized as
Yeah.
well, the shock, because when I circulated the picture of the drugs, the very person we sent to do the story.
So the MCA,
Yeah.
that is the Medicines Control Agency, had sent a letter to Atlantic Pharmaceuticals. I think they are the local partners of Maiden. So that's the letter there, and I'll just go through it briefly. It says, the Medicines Control Agency wishes to inform you of the urgency to finalize the recall of the contaminated, substandard and falsified medicinal products that your company imported from Maiden Pharmaceuticals Limited of 81, anyway, that's the address as well. Some of the affected medicines have already been recalled, but there are still some quantities in circulation and are being dispensed in some drug outlets and clinics in town. You are therefore required to complete and expedite the process and cooperate fully with MCA to conduct effective
cooperate. They have cooperate.
cooperate instead, yes, to conduct effective mop-up recall. The ongoing investigations have indicated that some of the Maiden medicinal products are contaminated with harmful substances, which I named earlier.
Yeah, correct.
And they went on to list some of those substances. And it says you are therefore requested to proceed with the immediate recall of all Maiden products, syrups, tablets, capsules, injections, to quarantine them and to make a detailed report to the MCA within a maximum of 5.
Although in
Yeah.
blocks it says 7.
Yeah,
So
7
it's
days.
just signature.
7 days.
7 days from the date of signature of
Written
this,
in a hurry.
of this letter.
Yeah, and then it goes on to another page, familiarized, given the current circumstances with the multiple Maiden products being contaminated. You are hereby notified that all Maiden products in stock must be put under quarantine until further notice. So we know that this has been written.
But then it went on to say, interestingly, you are given 21 days to produce the relevant certificates before any of the Maiden products will be released. But anyway, Stambush.
was it too late for this?
This is an interesting one. Let's go back. Remember, I think it was our doctors, wasn't it, that really took the case to the WHO, wasn't it?
Yes.
Once they noticed,
started noticing the
noticing
trend.
what was going on, the trend and the like. So they did the necessary sampling, the necessary tests and stuff. So we've got this. But when it comes to these pharmaceutical companies, how is the licensing process done? One would love to know that. I do hear that there are, what, 30 or so? 36 licensed pharmacists, is it?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But apparently some of them do lease or sell
They-
whatever.
Yeah, they borrow. Yeah,
They kind of
yeah.
franchise,
Franchise.
effectively.
Yeah.
To others.
Yeah.
How safe is that? So there are certain details that we must go into to
You know,
really
during
see
the-
how these things
During the
work.
minister's press conference
Really.
on Saturday night, the executive director of the MCA said something quite interesting. He said, I hear people say we rent out our licenses or maybe lease them out. He said, no, we don't do that. There's no such thing as leasing out or renting out one's license. He said, these are partners. They are our partners. You know, they have the money, we have the license, so we partner with them.
No, I mean, I think, you know, the minister's obviously missing something very, very big here, because what you have is that if you're in England, for example, and you open a pharmacy, the minute you walk into that pharmacy, everybody who works there who sells drugs, their certificate on the wall, relating to that individual, not to the, because many of them are branches, they're franchises, but the individuals who sell you the drugs have to have passed the relevant exams to be able to work in those places and have the qualifications. And their qualifications for the people who work in individual branches are up on the walls, and you can see them. They're always on view. But here, there's nothing of the sort. You have one which governs the whole company, not the individuals who sell them. And you hear people are not in the habit of going to their doctor and saying, they go to the pharmacy and say, I've got this, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that.
In fact, some would tell you, I want painkillers, and they give you the money.
They just buy and go, yes.
We don't do GPs here.
They don't, you know, even when I went,
the pharmacies are
there was
GPs,
one on
I guess.
Kyraba Avenue, and I went there. You know, I've mentioned this many, many times. I don't normally take drugs of any kind, but I had a particularly bad headache, and I thought, let me go. And then I mentioned some other symptoms, and they gave me something, and I said, oh. I said, this sounds like it's got penicillin. And they said, yeah. I said, you should have asked me if I'm allergic. And I'm allergic to penicillin. And so they had to take it back.
See?
So in England, that would have been standard. Before they gave me something that had something like that, they would say, are you allergic to this, to this, to this?
Yeah.
They just gave it to me over the counter. And I had to stop them and say, because of the name, which had something sin at the end of it, I said, oh, that sounds like it's got penicillin in it. And they said, yes, it does.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be for me, because somebody else might not make that. And you know, if I take it it could kill me, let me be blunt, because I get a very, very bad adverse reaction to it. So, you know, for me, I have to be on the lookout.
Yeah, and you know, someone also told me this, that you sometimes you go to you know, the hospital, and then they would write prescriptions for you, but the handwritings of some of these doctors. I mean, someone told me
Japanese
he took it to the pharmacy.
That's all over the world.
And the guy at the pharmacy was even struggling to read.
You get that all over the world. I don't know why, what it is or why, but even in England, people in pharmacies make jokes about this and saying, hey, what is this? Sometimes they have to phone the doctor and say, what have you written here?
Yeah.
So I don't know why that happens.
Yeah, but I think it's something that we need to look at as well. Imagine being given a different drug for, I mean, a certain ailment that you have, because someone, you know, maybe misread or read.
Yeah, no, it's important.
I think it's something that
I've seen someone which it had happened to. He went to the hospital and they gave him the prescription, so he went and bought the medicine. But unfortunately, the illness wasn't getting better, so he went back. So the doctor looked at the paper and the medicine, because he took along all the medicines, and the doctor was like, "Who gave you this medicine? What you had here and what is on the paper is quite different." So he was scared. Immediately, he has to throw away all of that. Imagine if he had drink all those medicines. What would have happened?
And if it had been something, not just something that didn't cure him, but something that was
negative
for him, that really could have been terrible.
We have a long way to go in this.
Either that or they misdiagnosed. I don't know what kind of staff work in some of these pharmacies. I once had a situation where I was told that I had a fungal problem, and I went somewhere else. They said no, it wasn't. It was merely bacterial. So you have also the possible points of failure. Really, there are just too many in the whole structure.
I mean, if we can quickly go back to the president's speech,
yes.
I think what people should do is that I think, and the president, if he's watching or if his people are watching, I think he should absorb the anger that there's been as a result of his speech. because he did not step up to the plate in the way
Yeah.
that people would have
Wanted him
wanted
to,
the
yeah.
president to. We want you to be angry, Mr. President. The anger that we feel, we wanted you to reflect that, and you did not. It was very kind of passive statement.
Yeah.
People are grieving, people are upset, people are angry. All of that should have come out. And really going forward, by the end of this week, we want concrete steps that will be taken to make sure this never happens again. And we shouldn't just be this kind of never again, never again. We should mean it.
We
And the
should
only way
mean
people are going to believe it is if you put in concrete steps to say these are the things that will be put in place to make sure this never happens again.
And
We
talking
should
about steps,
set up
he's
all
also
these
directed the foreign
investigative bodies.
minister to reach out to the Indian ambassador as well over the issue. But yes, so just to wrap up on this issue, the police have also set up an investigation panel
Sure.
and of course we understand some
Officials.
persons of interest have been called in for
Yeah.
questioning. We don't know how far they've gone with that. We're hoping we would get the police PRO to talk to us, with regards to that, hopefully before the end of the program. But yes, the police too.
Absolutely, but to me, that's just one element.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to prosecute some people, maybe not.
People,
That's just one
they
element.
must go.
What went wrong? How did it go wrong?
Wrong.
That's really, for me, the bigger lesson we can learn so that something like this is unlikely. You minimize the risk. You can never eradicate it entirely, but you minimize the risk. You make it extremely difficult for these sort of things to come in. But you need to have the structure, proper structure in place, all the filters working. That's really the bigger lesson.
And the lack of laboratories, Mr. Ade.
Well, this is it. I mean, we've now heard that it was sent to Ghana, Senegal, France, etc.
You remember the food safety issue, right?
Yeah.
We had the
The
same
sniper.
problem. So every
This-
time
this
there's
is
a
it.
problem, and we have to test these things,
Yeah.
I mean, after over 5 decades of independence,
For me,
it's about time now.
We are part of the wider ECOWAS community. You have labs in Cape Verde, in Senegal, in Ghana, Nigeria. So, okay, going forward, what I would like to see is that, yes, we don't have the labs, but these are our neighbors. 300 miles from us is Cape Verde, less than, you can just walk into Senegal from here. Let's sign an MOU with them that if anybody wants to import drugs into this country, they have to be tested there before we accept them, because we know we don't have the facilities ourselves. As our ECOWAS brothers, they're not going to say, no, we're not doing it. Why would they? Because it's what they do for themselves.
Yeah.
They would do it for us,
would.
and they won't
They
charge us for it.
They would.
But those are some of the things I would like to see going forward.
Or even maybe, I think we were saying the other day, the WHO certified.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When an international reputable body has certified it, then we can have reasonable trust that they've done all the quality checks, as it were, before that approval.
Because there's a wider
stuff like
danger
that.
to this. Much of Africa now buys its drugs from India.
Exactly.
And what this will do is that, yes, it's one particular drug, cough syrup, but I bet you everybody who's been watching this, because people sent me this story from Rwanda, from Nigeria, from Sierra Leone, from Ghana, because, you're in Gambia, what's happening? All of those people now are looking at Indian drugs with suspicion, not just cough syrups.
Yeah.
And that's a big danger because of the cost, the lower costs of drugs from India. Much of Africa now buys. We buy our drugs from India. This will have people, even this morning, in the car we were talking about it, and said, you go back and you check, was this made in India, even though it's not a cough syrup. So there's
also, what is your take on the call that the minister has to resign, the Minister of Health, and also the Executive Director of the Medicine Council?
Well, as Mboj said, if there's evidence that they have been negligent, then yes, let them resign. But I don't think you should have resignations for resignation's sake.
Okay.
If somebody, if it has been under their watch, that they help, because he is not the head of the Medicines Control Agency. He is not the one who issues the licenses for things to be, so in fact, when I mentioned about the Medicines Control Agency, I think what the lady meant was that there's one element where people can register to import something and they get a stamp saying I'm importing this into the Gambia. But because it's a medicine, there doesn't seem to be a rule that you must also, at the same time, ask for it to be legally registered as something that could be administered in the country. And that is a huge failing if that is the case. And that, again, is something that needs to be addressed. There needs to be a root and branch, rip everything up and start again and saying we're going to put stringent measures in place so that if ever anything like this happens, it is because it's out of the ordinary, not because we're so lax that this is going to happen and it's going to happen again. It really never should happen.
This is an area where you really can't make a mistake. When you do, it costs lives. This is really what the problem is. It's just so key, so important that you really can't make a mistake here, really, because this is what happens. Here, in this case, children, 69 children have died.
And these
are the
ones that are officially recorded.
That's what I mean, the reported ones.
We've said this time and time again. And of course, if this was England and America, both the importer and the Medicines Control Agency probably be sued by the families. In fact, not probably, they would be. Because, you know, it's tragedy, absolute tragedy.
For a country of what? 2 million?
2 point something million.
Yeah, I mean, 69?
In 2 months, isn't it? that's the interesting thing. 2.5 months, you see, stuff like that.
And who knows? I mean, we still have some kids, we understand, babies, who still,
but, you know, children die and they get buried the day they die here. And nobody takes them for any toxicology or autopsy or any
people even hardly conduct any autopsies.
Well, this is it. So the suspicion must be that many, many more children probably have died. And let's just, I was about to say this earlier, how we can personalize this. In QTV, the very person I assigned to do the story, Mamadou Gajaga, to go to the Medicines Control Agency, I gave him the pamphlet with the drugs, and he went, huh? Wow. He said, my God, he said, that's the one I gave my child. And he pointed to one of them.
Wow.
You know, and when our colleague, Ndei, saw it, exactly the same reaction. A couple of hours later, she wasn't even there when, and she said, this is what I give my 8-year-old son. And we interviewed her about it.
Exactly.
You know, so there are people who are actually, now we're hearing the Red Cross, as we know, are going, you know, door to door, and they're collecting from people and they're disposing of them. And you know, I said what they should do is take out a sort of a notice in all the languages, show all the pictures, and explain to parents, if you are giving this to your child, stop it, stop it now. But I haven't seen it yet.
So just to wrap up, what would you want to see going forward, Mr. Moji?
All these investigations, we hope that they wouldn't take time. Really, they should be time bound. We need to know the facts. Particularly with this one, how did it come in, who were the importers, and did they have the checks? Did they go through all the filtering checks, as it were, as they should? So we need to see the process here. Where are the failures, the points of failure? That's the only way that we can redress the situation.
It's similar, along similar lines, a tightening up of the regime for actually bringing drugs into the country, so we don't get the situation ever again where somebody says it's legally imported but not legally registered. And we need to build a standalone, and if we have a Medicines Control Agency, give them the resources, give them the teeth to be able to do this. And if anybody wants to import medicines, we need to know that they've been tested somewhere, and that the certificates are not falsified and so on. As I said, a company that has had 2 court cases in its own country to stop it selling this very product in their country, and yet they can sell it here. That's scandalous. You know, again, with the internet, all I had to do was go on the internet, type in Maiden Pharmaceuticals, and the 2 court cases came up. Somebody could have done that, you know,
and no straight up
for themselves. So, you know.
Sadly.
Prosecutions and compensation. I would insist on this from somewhere, I do not know where, but to compensate those families.
That was my thought as well.
Thank you, gentlemen. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to, you know, another exciting edition tomorrow.
And let's hope we speak in more pleasant circumstances than this tragedy, this scandal.
That's important.
But thank you for inviting us.
Once again, our condolence to the families affected, and we hope, like Mr. Bosch said, that they would, you know, expedite these investigations, and that, you know, we would see prosecutions, but also compensations, you know, and we hope that we don't have to live through such experiences again. So yes, we take a short break. When we return, it's Pink October. We will be engaging Dr. Abdullahi Keita and Dr. Dado Jabi.
Kanta. Now you can loan bigger credit amounts to make life easier for you. Loan $75 and $100 and pay later. Yes, you heard me right. Get credit loan from $10 to $100 using IFA Kanta by dialing *393#. Anytime you run out of credit, whether you want to buy Q Power, browse the internet, make urgent calls, or send SMS. IFA Kanta is the service for you. Dial *393# and choose the loan amount of your choice with no hassle. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus, the pioneers of mobile loan service in the Gambia. We innovate, others follow. Terms and conditions apply.
QCell, GSM company minna yirwa tariata Gambia Bankoka. QCell la 4G plus network ya banko bela mura. Andung ala internet o tariata sidula saba katambi nyongola. Saung sahin, yesta 335 kumandi. Yadati kemuna fang 4G sobeol. QCell, Gambia la network lanna yaringo.
Save up to 50% energy with the new side-by-side Samsung refrigerator. Samsung air conditioners come with HD filter and antibacterial for your protection. Save time, energy, and effort by using our washing machines, loaded with innovative features that offer superior cleaning technology. Step into the future of television with our slick and slim Samsung Smart TV designs. Sizes range from 32 to 85 inches. Smart LED, Crystal UHD Ultra High Definition, and QLED Quantum Dark LED. Get new ways of interacting with your TV. Unparalleled vision, right from the comfort of your living room. Our products are backed with 1-year warranty. Visit us at QCell Building at Caraba Avenue or at Boosterview Turntable. Contact us on 333-3217 or email us at info@quantumnet.gm. As the fastest growing GSM company in the Gambia, QCell has the widest 4G plus coverage in the country, 3 times faster internet speed than our competitors. So switch now and dial *335# and enjoy what true 4G feels like. QCell, the Gambia's trusted network.
You're watching This Morning on QTV, and yeah, I mean, earlier on we had Mr. Mboj and Mr. Ade. You know, we were looking into the cough syrup saga, which unfortunately has been, you know, making news from last week for the wrong reasons, of course. So yes, we move on now to the last segment on our program this morning. It's Pink October. We're looking at Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but today we're dealing with cervical cancer, as others would call it. And we have Dr. Dado Jabi with us in the studio. Good morning and welcome to This Morning.
Thank you, Eso.
All right.
Hello.
We're happy to have you here. Tell us about cervical cancer. What is it?
So cervical cancer, as we call it, is the cancer of the neck of the womb. It usually affects the neck of the womb. That is the entrance of the to get to the womb. So it's very common. It's the commonest reproductive organ cancer in female, and then it's quite preventable. It's like almost 100% preventable if it is early detected.
Well,
interesting.
Thankfully, I mean, as life-threatening as it is, I mean, it's good to know that it is preventable.
Yes, it is.
So how can it be prevented?
Yes, so the prevention is through screening. Once you are 21 and above, you should be doing a regular screening for cervical cancer from 21 to 29, we usually advise them to do a cytology screening. That is, you regularly go to the hospital every 3 years, and then they will take just a small cell from the opening of the womb, that is the cervix, and then it will be sent to the lab to see whether there is an abnormal cells or not. From 30 to 65, usually we recommend combination of the cytology and also to test for HPV. HPV is a virus, that is human papilloma virus, that you can be screened for, and then once detected, then if it is detected, early treatment can be done, and then you can be free from the virus and also prevent the cervical cancer.
Well, you just mentioned something really important, regular screening.
Exactly. Yes. That goes to ask, what are some of the signs that one should look out for?
Yes. Cervical cancer is a very slow-growing cancer. Usually it can take 10 years before you actually get to the cancer itself. You usually have pre-malignant lesions in the cervix. So when that happens, once you screen, it can detect it. The signs and symptoms are usually post-intercourse bleeding. That is, bleeding after having an intercourse is usually one of the most specific symptoms of cervical cancer. The other things can happen are you having an unusually discharge with a foul-smelling odor. The odor is actually very characteristic of cervical cancer. And then the other things that it can present with, pelvic pain, that there will be pain in the lower abdominal, going to your back, and then also because the bleeding does not really have to just be postcoital. It can also be intermenstrual bleeding from your one menses to another. That can also happen.
And I think it will be important as well to talk to our viewers, because not everybody who listen to or watch this program is very much fluent in English.
But Nalia for then for in Sulu.
So akumata coming Dr. Jabia for the follow to be bismillah la program or me alon ko wolem this morning ti and bimbe diam kon kula me alon ko wolem cervical cancer ti coming ila diam to follow bray nyin ka minen cervical cancer ti
cervical
cancer.
It's still the same one.
Still the same anyway.
See? So saying kura ne bi alon ko wulu nyangoto akatara wol ma
wulu nyang
bunda data akatara wolto wo mu fenet mi alon ko akamusul batandi bake so ngamri finance dunno le ya faram fansi domande ni chanta dame nana.
So cervical cancer mu cancer le minka musul la wulu nyang bundato akatara woleto. Of course nang atara famita ase tan wala fay wulu nyang be muta boden aka commencer wulu nyang bundalo ta akata. So coming for nung angale kanto wala cervical cancer kura no mi alon ko se anyato kuntuno kataba kele anen kaba ku masidula woy so ke no nyame wala kata lopitano to wato wati ka jibe ni ya jibe ni ta lopitano to e be jibe la ya jibe fo fengol mimbe wulu nyango bundato fe be falin kane because ku jamale ko fanam falin so ni ya je komin ko ab falin kane se jaralo ke kabre wo wato anin kamin fo kotenke wolon ako isalo nyaadi la ko cervical cancer le bila jama imu kalon no foni ka screening ke wati at least every 3 years yeta ye jibe fa bila la fatila so but min ka tandi ko maybe cervical cancer bela le wolon comme ni ke makafuta o kola e ka yeloje ni wojo kuma yata bakele prita l'hôpital to pour yalon fo min cervical cancer lom bang fo kurandol lom because amanke cervical cancer da mane fon kage kurandol fanan kagel anin dobi je min fanan kumare yaje ko min ko joka boyla mi yalon ko anoro mu kadia anoro nyin ni anora noro nyin ka fen aka fatia bakele so u fanan ka kenole anin do fanan min ka ke kaje ko keno ko to katere dimila aka tay iko mama fon ite ma fon ni wol sifaje sectoriano leta l'hôpital to ya jibe min cervical cancer lom ni yaje kabrin akuma sidula aka soni ale ka jara but nata da fa wajabita a jaru ka kolya baken
on the regular screening also
checkironi
wolon
yake at least ni be sanji mu wanin kilin kata sanji mu wanin kononto at least sanji yake sinya kilin sanji sabo kono banita da foi sanji tan sabo to kata sanji taworo wala anin lulukan isake no sinya ibag test fula le kelawo because mba jibe la munol katar bunda data wala la cell solti nga jibe fo falin kan anin virus o biye min kan cervical cancer cause so on so fana jibe fo abije la fa atije ba ni tara fo fura sanyi ta wor wala nen lulu aman jari ka test wo fo nga ko tank ni ka kenu regularly every 3 or 5 years
sa ni mom fudu fo isa nyen courant stono
usually cervical cancer min ka asabu wolong 99% min ka cervical cancer sabu wolong HPV virus wolong human papilloma virus wonyinte so wo aka sawun futu mo nyoma fulo le tema bari hana tare man futu ni tara fo yaje ko futata sanji do tembola ilafta ka screening ge is important yake yeah
ani jumale fanan senyin soto no tare yake even comme be futu bundala sio c'est comme sio la fanala
so munul ka sutu no tariya la wolom comme munul yin HPV virus infection osoto wokuma akumata cervical cancer la risk factor sol kanal aning munul yalon ko futu nyoma jamal bebul wo fanan ka tinale ayka cervical cancer risk factor am priyasoto aning cigaretto sabaro fanan wo fanan ka sawul ha is very important aning ni musode as long as you musode your risk of cervical cancer warata bakele so
lafta pour je fanan seniyande parce que kel fanan ka soto le
yeah so because HPV akatara musollal akatara kellale jama fan kelle ka sawondi musolla so but itel ka ke yato e ka cancer soto jele because HPV asatinale ye cancer soto ela ke yato anin fanan ela okay
you can go in
your throat oropharyngeal it can corona it's a cancer soto no jele that is through oral sex and all that because HPV can really infect that place also and then you can have it there.
Earlier you mentioned something very important, which is the regular screening. Yeah. I wanted to really emphasize on this. I know, I mean, in this country, people are not really in the habit of always, doing medical checkups and all that. But as someone who works in the medical field, how important is it to always have this regular screenings?
The screening, the importance cannot really be overemphasized. It's very, very important because if you notice the cervical cancer early, it's easy to prevent it. But then once it is late, because there are certain stages when it gets there, you cannot do really much about it. It's just become palliative to prevent the pain, to prevent the bleeding. But then if you detect it very early, you can actually do something about it. So that is it. It's very, very important.
All right. So yes, I mean, in Wolof as well, just briefly. Okay, li ñu waxtaane mooy xam nañ ne weer bi ñu nekk dañ ko jagleel liñ gën a xamee si cancer rawatina breast cancer te nag ñu am fee docteur Dado Jabi mi nga xamante ne moom mu ngi yëngu ci wàllum fajum ci bunti faj bi lay liggéey moom te li ñoo waxtaane mooy cervical cancer mu doon ab jàngoro bi nga xamante ne dina na ci awra nit ki rawatina jigéen ñi ci ñoom la moo gën a sonal ma bëggoon na docteur nga wax ñu tuuti rek ci lan moo ko dee mun a cause ak itamit naka nit ki mën a def pour gis ne aar nga sa boppa
ok suma olof bi satul bu
waaw dinaa la jàpp dinañ jéego
naa try cervical cancer mooy cancer bu dee nekk si bunti jurukaay jigéen bi léegi dafa di nekk lu yàgg balaa sax muy nekk cancer daf di commencé ak as a precancerous lesion xaw ma loolu nu ñu ko waxee si olof waaye nag daf di progress mu dem ba nekk cancer so lu ma doon wax rek mooy lii danga ko dee mun a aar mun nga ko da nga war a nekk di seet sa boppa ñetti at bu nekk nga dem si lopitaan bi gars yi seet si dafa am lu ñu dee jël foofu noonu ñu yóbbu ko si lab bi pour ñu seet lan ndax lu yu fa nekk ñu ngi wécceeku ndax nekkul di wécceeku soo ko teelee xam da nga mun a aar sa bopp.
docteur ma tegagum sa baaram foofu loolu am na solo ndax xam naa ne Gambia fii li ëpp si nit ñi miinuñ di dem si lopitaan all the time di check suñ boppa da nga gis nit mu toog sa yeneen ñu naan xam nga mu ne la dama dem lopitaan yow ñu ne ma suma deret dafa yegg suma deret dafa wàccaak waaye xëj na sax loolu yow su doon da nga dee dem lopitaan all the time di nga ko gaaw a detect especially lu mel nii cervical cancer dafa important trop kon baax na nit ñi ñu dee dem lopitaan xam nga all the time ñu faral di dem di gëstu pour xool ndax seen wér gu yaram fan la toll foog naa loolu am na solo trop
loolu am na solo trop because sooy dem lopitaan saa yu at least nekkut saa yu nekk la sax ñetti at bu nekk benn yoon rek ngay dem pour dem seet sax ndax yaa ngi sa cervix bi mu ngi ok ndax ok wut ndax yaa ngi sa am problème ndax cells yu fa nekk ndax ñu ngi wécceeku ndax nekkul di wécceeku loolu dafa am solo torop soo ko def likely ne doo am cervical cancer most likely doo ko am because cervical cancer dafa nekk loo xam ne daf dee jël at least 10 years balaa mu develop sax so it's very slow
luñ mun a faj la
luñ mun a faj la soo ko teelee xam soo ko teelee xam luñ mun a faj la waaye soo ko teelutee xam pour faj ko daf dee jafe torop
so at that stage boro labi jemi ankal ka wala di pour ka mari ma koy bang
okay so ni ngaje komin ko cervical cancer le bi la ngaje kabirin commencement dula nkamin ke wolong ning atara comme natara be doyarim ba telefon wodula da man ngaje ay damin affect nka wala bondi so ni ngaje tara fo comme after stage dolto mi yalon ko aman ila wuludula dula dol affect nka wulu nyango be bondi jede ha but ning atata fa futata tembe dol la fa yela musu ya dula dol ma wo muka opero fon keno bari kudol bi jele min ka keno fana because ise boro dinora mari la le that is chemotherapy pour ka cancer cell sol nyinul fa wala do bi je fango comme wo x-ray lam ise wo keno wala radiotherapy ti wa is very high energy wo ma wo soto ja ika wo keno le pour wo fana ka cancer la cell sol faale isaje ko courant nying te progress la way nata da fang fa futa tembe da doto am ka jarano ka courant nying fi siandi le dron isaje amari la balwa sa continue no
balaa loolu di ñëw rek si gannaaw yaa ngi doon wax ci mandinka yéena mandarga yoo xamante ne su dee nit ki gis na ko wala dem na ba bàyyi ko xel ci sa boppa war ngaa mun a jóg dem lopitaan bàyyi ko xel lan moo la mun a lan nga war a gis xëj na wala loo xam ne di nga ko bàyyi xel ci sa boppa des symptômes loo xamante ne war na laa mun a won ne lii daal xëj na lii la
symptômes yoo war a bàyyi xel mooy comme soo sëy ak sa jëkkër soo paree nga gis deret loolu dafa am solo torop si feebari cervical cancer loolu soo ko gisee da nga war a teel a jóg nga dem lopitaan ak nga gis ne da ngay génnee ndox boo xam ne xet bi neexut soo gisee loolu tamit da nga war a gaaw nga dem lopitaan ak nga gis ne sa naxa bi dafay métti saa yu nekk muy dem si sa ndiga bi boobu tamit dafa am solo da nga war a teel a dem nga dem lopitaan ak nga gis ne sax sa diggante fóoti sax nga gis ne yaa ngi gis foofu noonu deret sa diggante ñaari fóoti nga gis ne da nga gis deret seen diggante loolu tamit dafa am solo nag da nga war a dem lopitaan pour ñu seet la yooyu yëpp dañ am solo
waaw laajte woon naa ko tamit comme ndax soo sëyutee tamit mun nga am feebar bi
waaw kan moo ko mën a am
waaw kan moo mën a am
feebar bi lu ko dee gën a cause mooy benn virus bu ñu dee ooyee human papilloma virus loolu almost 99% feebar bi moo ko dee cause waaye nag soo sëyut sax am na solo soo demee ba àgga yenn at mun ngay dem ngay seet sa bopp xam naa loolu du yàq dara mun ngaa dem nga dem seet sa bopp waaye soo sëyee moom da nga war a def nga def ko farta ñetti at bu nekk nga dem seet ko waaw
si gannaaw tam waxoon nga ne du jigéen ñi rek ñoo ko dee am te am na yoo tudda yoo xamante ne loolu daf ko dee mun a cause tamit na mun nga ñu wax loolu
waaw nekkul jigéen ñi kese ñoo ko dee am because human papilloma virus daf dee góor yi dañ ko dee am jigéen ñi dañ ko dee am so su dee da nga nekk góor tamit daf dee mun a laal sa cër yi tamit mun nga see amaale cancer si sa cër bi ak si sa biir put bi tamit daf ko dee human papilloma virus daf ko dee mun a affect so mun nga see am cancer tamit so am na solo trop pour ñu ñëpp ñuy check ba pare the other thing bu gën a important si prevention bi sax mooy vaccine bi because dafa am vaccine tamit nekkut faj kese waaw am na vaccine human papilloma virus am na vaccine bu nga xam ne waaye dañ ko dee jox xale yu nekk diggante 9 years ba 15 years so dafa am solo torop léegi-léegi gars yi dem ci school yi ñu bëgg a vacciner gars yi am ay tolof yu ñu jànkuwanteel ñeneen parents yi duñu dee bëgg ñu vacciner seen doom yi waaye nag lii dafa prevent sa doom from having cervical cancer later in the life.
xanaa amul pour mag.
déedéet usually is xale yi waaye ñu ne léegi-léegi mag yi comme ba 26 years mën nga ko joxe.
ok yaa ngi fi doon tura tamit yeneen xëy na causes ñu ko dee cause diggante sax nga dem ba tura si cigarette tamit.
waaw so causes yi cause bu gën a important mooy human papilloma virus bi bu nga xam ne maa ngi ko doon wax ak yeneen cause yi mooy nga am multiple sexual partners comme ngay sëy ak ñu nga xam ne dañ bëri o nga sëy ak koo xam ne dafa am ñu nga xam ne dafa sëy ak ñoom dañ bëri loolu daf ko dee cause ak ñu nga xam ne dañoo tux cigarette tamit daf dee mën a cause cervical cancer ak comme ñu nga xam ne dañ am immunodeficiency like seen soldat yi doole yi dañ wàññeeku torop loolu tamit dañ dee prone to having cervical cancer because of the virus.
loolu cigarette mi war nañ koo bàyyi de. cigarette lu mu def si dara ngi bëri na.
soo taxawee fii nga ne cigarette bàyyi leen cigarette ñu ne hey yow balaa ngaa juddu nga fekk ñu ngi tux cigarette
wax dëgg.
luy cause cancer moom luy cause cancer moom baax.
waaw cigarette nekkul cervical cancer kese sa la moo cause. cancer yu bari sa des ko dee cause lii di lung cancer am na ay risques yu bari so cigarette moom baaxut.
so cervical cancer bi ndax dafa am ay façon wala moom benn living rek la because xam nga am nañ breast cancer su ne breast cancer xam nga boobu tam am na ay façon so ndax bii tamit dafa am ay façon.
waaw cervical cancer am na ay façon benn bi squamous cell cancer boobu moo gën a fees moo gën a law ñu bari loolu lañ dee am na beneen bu nga xam ne is adenocarcinoma boobu bariwut waaw.
so yéen fii nii at our medical healthcare system yéen ngeen gën a treat
yëpp daf dee nekk cancer so as su ñëwee sax duñ dee wax ne bi adenocarcinoma la ou squamous cell carcinoma of course suñ yónnee sample bi si lab bi dinañu differentiatal ban la si ñaar yi waaye suñu treatment bi moom is essentially the same.
So lu ma la bëgg a laajte finally is it's Cancer Awareness Month. Yéen as health experts lan ngeen nekk di def in your capacity through the awareness because ñu ne awareness month la. So lan ngeen nekk di def pour gis ne nit ñi gën a understand pour nit ñi parce que tey suma I feel scared to go to the hospital and test pour nga xam cancer because dama scared the trauma and everything. So what are you doing to create awareness for the people?
So lu ñu nekk di def mooy ñu ngi comme like hospitals yi almost all the hospitals offer free services see cervical cancer. Right now, I give some of the private hospitals you get both breast and cervical cancer. You get offer free services for screen. So I think you can work in most of the both public and private, and then ask for screening for cervical cancer. And also, Bundung Sun Hospital with C3G, you get organized cervical cancer and breast cancer screening on the 29th of this month, and it's totally free. So
I'm being notified that we have only 2 minutes to the end of the program, but Doctor, we're very much happy to have you on this platform, and we look forward to having you, engaging you in our subsequent programs. But just on a final note, if you were to give any advice generally to anybody watching this in relation to cervical cancer, what would it be?
So my final advice would be regular screening, which is very important. Try to make it your priority to be screened regularly, at least once in 3 years is not much. So if you walk into most of the facilities, you can be screened for it. That is my final.
Thank you, Doctor. Once again, we appreciate your time.
Thank you
very
much.
Earlier. Lolly.
Yes, I'll say thank you very much. As Esso said, we'll hope to have you again.
Thank you,
talk about more, inshallah.
All right, thank you.
So on behalf of Dr. Jabi, earlier we had Mr. Ade and Mr. Mboch and Lolly, and of course myself. We thank you for being with us, and on behalf of the entire production team, we look forward to being with you tomorrow morning. So do have a great day.
Opticalia is a leading European brand which is now in the Gambia. Are you looking for glasses? Then you have come to the right place. As a first step, we will perform an eye exam to ensure we prescribe the correct lenses for you. After that, you can select a frame of your choice. We have a variety of brands in stock, and you will definitely find yours. You can have the full package of frame plus lenses starting from $990 up to more for the most fashionable options. Once you find a frame you like, your lenses will immediately be edged by our lab technician. Within 30 minutes, you will be able to leave with your prescription glasses and a huge smile on your face. How amazing is that? Visit us at the Tropic Shopping Center near Senegambia from 9 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day of the week, or call us on 503-4411 or 7767-123.